We're ready to go full circle. Yeah, let me give everybody a quick recapitulation of what's flying. The Alter Rebbe wrote a sefer, and the name of the sefer is called Likutei Amorim Sefer Shel Beinanim. It's used on the pasuk Yikarev Elecha Dav Meid Befich B'Vav Chalas Seisel Levayit Heitev Echo Karev Meid. The Alter Rebbe wrote a sefer, which is not a philosophy book. It's a Likutei Eitzes. It's a book of counsel, which is supposed to teach Yidden how to serve Hashem practically. It's supposed to teach Yidden how to serve Hashem practically. What is the practical message? That a person could be a balabayas over himself completely. B'machshava, dibur, u'maisa. Thought, speech, and action. Complete balabas over himself. Hein b'machshava, hein b'dibur, hein b'maisa. It's very hard. So the answer is b'vavcha. The way you could be a Beinani is having a bissel emotion. When a person has no emotions, they can't control the Yetzer Hara. If a person has at least some emotions, they could use their emotions to control the Yetzer Hara. And there's different types of Beinani. Ideally, a Beinani should be a long, short Beinani. A Me'ech, Shalat Alev Beinani. He learns and he meditates and develops Avaz Hashem, Yiras Hashem. This is called the Veda Tamil Beinani. If a person could learn and meditate and not develop full-blown feelings for Hashem, but only what we call the Abisal Yiddish Ahatz, Kach Yoasa, Ava Mesuteres, it's also not bad. Chapter 18, Perik Yud Ches, began with a question. What if a person not only can't have Avaz Hashem and Yiras Hashem, he can't learn and he can't do his bonus? So the Alter Rebbe said he could be a Beinani using Ava Mesuteres, the Pintel Yid. Problem is, Pintel Yid only emerges in moments of Mesiras Nefesh, of crisis. Right? When a person is tested about something which is higher than reason, the Pintel Yid emerges. How are you supposed to use your Pintel Yid in a daily way, in a regular way, in an ongoing way, if it only emerges at special moments? And the answer is, make every special moment into Avodah Zarah. Make every moment into Achtas Hashem. And that's what the Alter Rebbe did in Chaf Gimel and Chaf Dalet. He reconfigured, he reinterpreted mitzvahs and avedas and totally removed the notion of kalas and chamuras. He took out of Yiddishkeit the idea of saying this is an important mitzvah, this is not an important mitzvah. This is more strict, this is less strict. Every mitzvah is a merkava for Achtas Hashem, called Pnimi Yisrael Tzlan V'Chefti Amiti. Every aved is a merkava for Avodah Zarah, called Siter Acharo Klipa Nika V'Zara V'Lakim Achedim. And any argument to distinguish between the severity of one mitzvah and another, first he calls it Ruach Shtus, and then he calls it Gezeiras HaKosh. You understand? So what's the constant? It's very, very possible for you. Near means possible. Right? To have B'vavcha. What's B'vavcha? Bissel Yiddish Ha'atz. That the Bissel Yiddish Ha'atz should help you to control Machshav Dibur Amaisa. But what does B'vavcha mean now? Not B'vavcha that comes through his bonus and limud and his bonus. But B'vavcha that comes through the Pintel Yid. How can I use my Pintel Yid in a daily way? Pintel Yid is so special. So I'll tell you the following. It's near to a Jew very much for game. Every hour and every moment. It's in the hand of a person, and he has freedom. Reshus means freedom, opportunity. Nobody's stopping him. Who to remove the spirit of foolishness, of folly, which tells him that there's kalas and chamuras, small avedas and big avedas, the ones I would never do and the ones I gotta do. V'ashikcha, the forgetfulness, which we had in Tanya Perik Yudala, that a person forgets that he's cutting himself off from the Eibishter. Mikir from inside of himself. The least can to remember, and to arouse, his love for the one God, which is concealed for sure in his heart, without any doubt. Every Jew has a Pintel Yid. That's not subject to doubt. Every Jew has a Pintel Yid is a fact. And you could remove the stupidity that says this is a small Aveda, as opposed to I become a Merkava. For Sitra Achara Klipa Nika V'Dazarav Lakim with this act, or to say this mitzvah is not so important, and instead acknowledge that when I do this mitzvah I become a merkava for Achtas Hashem, also known as Pnimi Yisratz Ne'elyin V'Cheftzei Hamiti. How? By remembering Ava Mesuteres. In other words, the Alter Rebbe is not suggesting that you should bring out a power of Mesiras Nefesh every day. That's not realistic. The Alter Rebbe suggests that you should remember that you possess a power of Mesiras Nefesh. To say it in psychological terms, the Alter Rebbe says part of being a Jew is knowing your own strength. A Jew needs to know how special every Jew is, and he needs to start with himself. You are special. I mean, he's special. It's a different story, but him it's Beis Galus. But you are special. But you it's also Beis Galus. You are special. What makes you special? You have an neshama which is one with the Eibishter Yirei Al Kiddush Hashem, and it becomes to an Yisayim B'Dvar Amurim by the Shem Echad. Period. The end. Full stop. I have to just know what I am and draw the strength from that point. Yedua Asipur. The Alter Rebbe had a chassid who used a similar trick. His name is Mordechai Lepler. He lived in Petersburg, which is a capital, a big modern city. And it's very hard to be Hasidish and frum in a big city. So the Mordechai Lepler once said that they asked the Alter Rebbe said about the Mordechai Lepler, he was a Madrega of Beinani. He was a big businessman. So Chassidim said to the Mordechai Lepler, how could you be a Beinani when you live amongst Goyim and Goyishkeit and Marnus and so on? He said, very plain, it's Gaiva, that's all it is. When I want to do an Aveda, I say, I'm going to do an Aveda. It's pastach nicht. I should do an Aveda. You understand? Here the Alter Rebbe says, remember, it doesn't mean that you're standing there ready to jump off a building. It means you remember the power that you have to say, this is how it is. And it can't be any other way. There's no such thing as big and little. The translation of the word Bilvavcha now, second line from the bottom, means not the Levavcha, the Ahava, which comes from his botherness, the Pintel Yidra which you possesses. And of course, as it says in Tanya Sof Perikutes, automatically includes fear. The Hainu, when you love Hashem enough, you're automatically afraid. Shaleli Parah, not to become separated, Chas v'Shalom. But Shum Eifen in any way, Miyachudei v'Achdusei Yisbarach, from the unity of the Eibishter, Afilu b'Mesiras Nefesh Mamish, even if you have to sacrifice your soul Mamish, B'Lishum Tam v'Seichel Museg, without any reason or wisdom that can be intellectually reached, Ela B'Teva L'Ki, it's a divine nature. It's a divine nature for a Yid to die al Kiddush Hashem. A Jew has B'Teva, a willingness to give himself away to the Eibishter, like it says the Lashon of the Yem, a Yid nicht will nicht kann sein abgeritten Vergettlichkeit. It's a Teva by Yid who makes Nefesh Kiddush Hashem. The Kolshken, if I'm ready to die, for sure, b'shviras hatayvis, to break my tayvis. Hakala miyusuri misa. Of course, it's a lot easier to not eat a piece of cake or not eat Rachmana not kosher than to die. That for sure, shakol avelav adava yeseh, that's even easier for the person. Lichpash yetzer, to suppress the yetzer hara. Hein bebechin is sorry both and not doing avedas. Afilu me aveda kalash will safe from even aveda which only made the rabbanon. When the Chazal make a gzeira, they take something which before the gzeira was klipas nega, and they lower it to the madrega of sholish klipas atmeis lagami, and it becomes treif. Okay. Afilu me aveda kalash will safe him. Shalilaver al eteni is barach at the goy. It's the wishes of the Eibishter. Because any act of Aveda, including Cholavakav, once the Chazal made it treif, it becomes a mekava for sitrach or klipa, and the Aveda zara v'elakim achedim. Shenifet bo, one becomes separated to this miyachudei v'achdusei from the unity and oneness of Hashem. Kamei ba'aveda zara mamish, like idol worship mamish. B'sha'as ma'aser, when he's doing the Aveda. V'arigam stop. Frag the Alter Rebbe have a kash. A Jew is willing to die not to do an Aveda. A Jew is willing to die not to do Aveda Zarah. So I could use that power. If I would realize my own Jewishness, my own koyach eliki, my own koyach Yehudi, I would not do any Aveda by recalling, by remembering that I have this preparation for sacrifice. Frag the Alter Rebbe, v'regam b'Aveda Zarah, yachal asas tshuva achakach. I have a kasha. Why would a Jew die not do Aveda Zarah? He'll do Aveda Zarah and he'll do tshuva. I went to Mekishlich and the guy screamed at me for an hour. What's this business people dying? You do the Aveda and you do tshuva, but you should live. But often, even though you could answer, you know why a person dies not to Avodah Zarah? Because the Gemara says, if a person says, I'll do an Aveda and then later do tshuva, Ein must speak and they're not going to help him do tshuva. So you could answer. The reason the person will not do Avodah Zarah and say later, I'll do tshuva, is because if you say, I'm going to do Avodah Zarah and later do tshuva, Hashem won't help me do tshuva. Look, the Alter Rebbe they're not going to hold him by the hand. To give him an appropriate time. Last us tshuva to do tshuva. If a person pushes the moment, and he does tshuva, nothing stands in the way of tshuva. So Yid could do tshuva. So the Alter Rebbe just went back and forth and back. He asks, why would a person die al Kiddush Hashem? Do an Aveda and do tshuva. He says, well, Ema speaking. He says, yeah, but Ema speaking only means they don't help you. But a person would rather push his way to do tshuva than die. Nevertheless, Kolish Yisrael, every single Jew, Muchan, Umezuman, is prepared and ready. Limsa nafsha kedushas ad Hashem, to sacrifice his life for the holiness of the Hashem. Shalistachas v'dezar natavadan tavidzar afil lefisha, even for a moment, and even superficially, she'ein piv v'li b'yishavim. Like Alter Rebbe said in Tough Pedicure Test. V'la says tshuva achakach and do tshuva later, not because he's afraid Hashem is not going to help him do tshuva, something like that, but for the following reason. V'hainu. Every Jew has the light of Ein Sof in his neshama. As we discussed before in Perikit Chaz and Perikit Tes, the Pintel Yid is Ein Sof. The Pintel Yid, which is Ein Sof, is higher than time and higher than an hour. It's higher than time. Then it rules over time. And since you have a pintele, which is Lamayla Mi'azman, the pintele that you have Lamayla Mi'azman, if it does an Aveda, that Aveda is also Lamayla Mi'azman. Why won't a Yid do an Aveda and then do Tshuva? Not because Eima speaking Yad says Tshuva, but because the aspect of the Neshama, which is She'eni B'Mechin Izman V'Shah, on that level, the Aveda doesn't go away. A Yid says, I touch Klipa, I'm stuck with it forever. And this shtickle is very shver and very unpleasant, but the Alter Rebbe is implying b'pashtus that on a level with the Neshamas L'Mayla Mi'azman Aveda is forever. And that's what a Jew dies for. So the Rebbe says, for sure a Yid has the ability to control himself, not do an Aveda, if he's willing to die al Kiddush Hashem, not do Aveda Zarah, because ultimately it's the same thing.